Hey friends, Freeman here to quickly chat your ear off again and introduce this next bit of the episode 100 lead-up bonus content. We will be covering some brief story arcs for each character from our run of Troubles in Otari that have been chosen to resurface in our episode 100 series. While these are obvious collaborations, the story beats of these character scenes are 100% the brainchildren of the players themselves. You are about to hear a couple of scenes from the writing chops of one Duncan Forbes. Known for his pithy wit and dry humor, Duncan has reached down to give us some context of his upcoming character that also extends the reach into one of the most beloved characters of Stemming the Tide. If you are a Patreon subscriber and listening to our private feed, stay tuned after for some insight with Duncan on his character build and how it's changed ever since we first saw Krugga. The scarred green orc known only as Krugga leaves his new friends at their run-down, but now safe, fishing camp, feeling accomplished, energetic. As he walks dutifully towards his rustic cabin, he has time to reflect on the day. What had started with a desire to bring quiet back to the forest surrounding his home turned quickly into a proper adventure, complete with heroism, facing down 8-legged menaces, the worst kind of menace, and forging real friendships. A pang of regret crosses his mind, brought on by memories of the cloudy, rage-filled adrenaline that saw him through the fights. He had trained his body to be a weapon, his fists as effective as any blade. But he sees now that trying to channel an uncontrollable emotion, such as anger, into this vessel would be no more reliable than a powder keg. His foot catches on an unexpected root growing through the path he'd swear he could walk blindfolded. He catches his balance, shakes his head, and walks on. If he is to be at peace with nature, perhaps it meant part of his nature had to be left behind. Shaking his head again, Krugga hears the gentle lap of waves. Looking down, he now notices the sand between his toes as he's wandering back to the shore. A distant glimpse of a dream, a memory, suddenly rushes to the front of his mind. A storm-lashed night in a boat, the only light accompanied by ear-shattering thunder. Screaming. A woman screaming, "Get him back!" And a feeling like a part of himself was washed away in the sea. He comes back to his senses knee-deep in water, hyperventilating, angry. But angry at what? Nothing, he thinks. He blinks, shakes his head, and realizes immediately where he is and how to get home. And he walks along the path he knows, blindfolded. His mind settles on the hard-earned quiet he will enjoy when he gets home, and considers moving to a cabin even deeper in the woods. Yes, he's to be at peace with nature, and will need to leave some things behind. A rock comes skittering down a gravelly mountain trail, followed by a full-throated laugh.
Ha 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 ha.
Maybe a little bit of irritation in that throat, but to make sure the intent is clear, Krugga follows it with some extra cheerful laughs. That's the closest he'd let himself get to anger today, even if he was laughing at wasting over a year's worth of travel on this pilgrimage. There is nothing revelatory to be found here, and certainly nothing to get angry with, so he laughs a little more.
Ha 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 ha.
Climb the highest mountain in the land. Find inner peace. Be one with nature. Piece of cake, right? Krugga had always had a deep distaste for books, but from what he heard, mostly overheard from conversations in the forest, that this was the way to do things. In the mountain, Aresland Mox, they called it. Takes a nice walk up the mountain, visits Aradin's Rest, maybe even meets Aradin himself, only to find out he is no climber. And there are plenty of creatures not even willing to let him find outer peace, let alone inner. And, of course, Aradin is long dead. Krugga gives out another little giggle and kicks another stone on his leisurely walk down the mountainside. He thinks of Otari, and in the months before he left, that vision of a storm and screaming had come to him a handful of times since. Each time it felt less like a hallucination and more like a memory. His childhood was a blur. He's grown so used to the forest and the peace he's found there. Krugga stops, his face frozen while his brain tries to make a connection. All those stories of a gray-skinned orc living outside of town. He had been sure they meant him, but at night, of course. What else could it be? Unless... The storm-lashed night plays in front of his eyes again. This time, he's sure it's a memory. It's a memory of his mother. He and his mother in a boat. They were leaving. Grim determination crosses his face. He'll go home. Perhaps what he's looking for will be in Otari, instead of on the top of a mountain. Soon he can enjoy that much-earned quiet in the forest. But first, he'd have to turn to what he hated almost as much as spiders. Books.